My own children, I whispered, staring at the empty cake on the table, called me a burden on the night of my 75th birthday. You look up at me, wide-eyed, as though you cannot believe such cruelty could exist inside a family. But it happened, child. And those words cut deeper than any knife. That evening is burned into my memory, as if it were yesterday. The house was full of noise, my children, their spouses, their own kids running around. For a moment, I thought it would be a good day. A rare day. I thought perhaps, for once, they had remembered that I was the woman who gave them life, who held them through sickness, who scrubbed their clothes till my fingers bled. There was a cake. Store-bought. A thin layer of white frosting with the number 75 written in shaky red letters. My youngest granddaughter clapped her hands and sang, but the voices of the others were flat, almost impatient. I blew out the candles, my chest tight with unspoken wishes. I wished for nothing grand. Only for warmth. For kindness. For one evening where I could feel like a mother, not a shadow in the corner. But after the plates were cleared, I heard the whispers. First soft, then sharp. 75, my eldest son muttered. She's lived long enough. What more does she want? His wife laughed. All she does is sit around. We work, we pay, we feed her. She's become a burden. A burden. The word slammed into my chest. I felt my knees weaken. I wanted to run, but where would I go? This was my home once. My sweat built these walls. My prayers kept this roof standing. And now, here I was, unwanted in the very place I had created. They didn't know I was listening. Or maybe they didn't care. I sat silently in my chair, my hands folded tightly in my lap, nails digging into my skin just to keep from breaking down. The room smelled of coffee and frosting, but to me, it smelled of betrayal. Your little hand presses mine tighter now, and I can feel your heartbeat racing as though you're there with me, living that moment. Don't cry, child. Tears cannot change the past. But listen closely, because this is where my story begins. That night, long after everyone had left, I cleaned the kitchen alone. The counters were sticky from icing, the sink piled with dishes. My back ached, but my heart ached more. I found myself standing before the old mirror in the hallway. The woman staring back at me looked tired. Her hair was thin, her shoulders bent, her eyes swollen from tears I had refused to shed in front of them. And I asked her, is this what I am now? A burden? No answer came. Only silence. I went to bed hungry, for the cake had been eaten by everyone else, and not a single slice was saved for me. My stomach growled, but my soul felt emptier. Sleep did not come easily. My daughter-in-law's laughter echoed in my ears. My son's muttered words replayed like a curse. She's lived long enough. In the darkness, I prayed. Not for myself, but for strength. Lord, I whispered, do not let me die with their cruelty as my final memory. Show me that life still has something for me. The very next morning, there was a knock at the door. It was not loud, not urgent, but it startled me all the same. For a moment, I feared it was the police, as it had been once before when lies had been thrown at me. My hands shook as I pulled the door open. And there stood a face I had not seen in years. A stranger to my children, but not to me. Her hair was streaked with grey, her eyes soft yet searching. She carried a small parcel wrapped in brown paper. Do you remember me? She asked quietly. And in that moment, though I had been called useless, though I had been called a burden, something inside me stirred. A forgotten warmth, a reminder that my life was not yet finished. The world had turned its back on me the night before. But at my door that morning, life itself seemed to whisper, your story is not over. And, child, that is where the tables began to turn. That morning, child, when I opened the door and saw her standing there, my breath caught in my throat. At first, I thought my eyes were playing tricks on me. "Do you remember me?" she asked again. Her voice was low, but steady, like someone who had practiced those words all night. I looked closer, my heart trembling. The years had changed her hair, her face, but not her eyes. Those eyes, deep brown, warm as summer earth, I had seen them before. Long ago. "Clara?" I whispered. Her lips curved into the softest smile. "Yes. It's me." Memories flooded in, of two young girls barefoot in the fields, whispering secrets in the dark, laughing so hard our ribs ached. We had been inseparable once, before life pulled us apart. She had moved to another town, then another state, and letters had slowed, then stopped. I had thought she had forgotten me. But here she was, standing in my doorway after decades, holding a parcel like it carried the weight of our past. I stepped aside quickly. Come in, come in." The house was still heavy with the sourness of last night's words. The walls seemed to echo with burden, burden, burden. But Clara's presence shifted the air. She set the parcel on the table, bread wrapped in paper, still warm, and a jar of jam sealed with wax. "For your birthday," she said softly. My throat closed. No one had brought me a gift in years. I touched the bread as if it was something holy. "You remembered." "I never forgot," she said, taking my hands into hers. Her skin was rough, like mine, marked by years of work. "I heard you were here. I had to come." "You look at me now with surprise, child. You've never heard me speak of Clara before, have you?" "That's because the world has a way of scattering friendships like seeds in the wind. But sometimes, against all odds, one seed finds its way back." We sat at the table, and I poured us tea in chipped cups. She told me about her life, the husband she had buried, the children who lived far away, the quiet farm she now kept alone. But soon, her words grew careful. Her eyes searched mine. "I heard things," she said gently. "That your children don't treat you right. That they call you names." Shame burned my face. I wanted to deny it, to protect the little dignity I still had. But when I looked into her eyes, I saw no judgment. Only sorrow. Only love. "Yes," I whispered. "They called me a burden. On my birthday." Clara's jaw tightened. "You? A burden? Mary, you carried those children on your back. You scrubbed houses, you washed other people's laundry, you worked until your hands cracked so they could have shoes on their feet. If you are a burden, then what is sacrifice worth?" Tears spilled down my cheeks before I could stop them. To hear someone say aloud what I had carried inside for years, it was like water on dry soil. She reached across the table, squeezing my hand. "You are not a burden. Don't you ever believe that." For the first time in a long time, I believed it. Just a little. But hope, child, is a dangerous thing in a house full of bitterness. That evening, when my children returned, they found Clara and me laughing softly in the kitchen, sharing bread and jam. My daughter-in-law's face hardened the moment she saw her. "Who's this?" she demanded. "An old friend," I answered, sitting straighter than I had in years. "Clara." Her smile was tight, false. "Well, we don't need outsiders meddling in family matters." Clara met her eyes without flinching. Sometimes outsiders see things family pretends not to. The air crackled with tension. My son shifted uneasily, caught between the two women. He mumbled something about being tired from work and slipped away, leaving us in silence. That night, my daughter-in-law cornered me. Her words were sharp, dripping with venom. "Don't think your little friend can save you. This is my house. As long as you live here, you'll follow my rules." I lay awake long after, staring at the ceiling. Fear gnawed at me, but beneath it, something stronger was stirring. Clara's words repeated in my mind, "You are not a burden." The next morning, Clara returned. She placed another parcel on the table, this time with a folded paper inside. "I've been thinking," she said. "You deserve better. You need to stand up. And I think I know how." I looked at the paper, my hands trembling. It wasn't food this time. It was something else. Something that could change everything. But before she could explain, we heard footsteps. Heavy, deliberate. My daughter-in-law's shadow fell across the doorway. Her eyes landed on the paper, then on Clara, and finally on me. "What's this?" she asked coldly. The room went silent. And in that silence, child, I knew the storm was coming. The moment your mother-in-law stepped into that kitchen, child, my heart almost stopped. Her eyes narrowed at the folded paper on the table, her lips curled like she had already decided it was poison. "What's this?" she asked again, her voice sharp enough to cut glass. Clara straightened her back, her chin lifted. "It's something your husband and his siblings should have known years ago. Something Mary never told them." I wanted to hide the paper, to keep it safe, but Clara's hand covered mine. Her strength steadied me. "It's the deed to this house," Clara said firmly. "Signed in Mary's name. Paid with her wages. Her sweat. Her sacrifices." My daughter-in-law's face drained of color. She snatched the paper, scanning it quickly, her eyes flicking to me with disbelief. "This can't be true." But it was true. Every number, every line of ink, was proof of the nights I stayed up scrubbing hotel floors, the mornings I walked miles to wash strangers' laundry, the years I went hungry so my children could eat. This house, the very walls she stood in, had been built on my back. My son entered then, hearing the raised voices. "What's going on?" Clara turned to him. "Your mother is not a burden. She is the reason you have a roof over your head." She held up the deed. "This house belongs to her." The room froze. My son looked at me, his face pale, his lips trembling. "Mom, is this true?" I could barely breathe. My voice cracked when I spoke. "Yes. I bought this house long before you were old enough to understand. I put it in my name, but I never told you. I wanted you to feel it was yours. I thought that would make you love it, and me more." Silence filled the room. My son's eyes filled with tears, shame pooling in his face like storm clouds. He sat down heavily at the table, his hands covering his face. And then came the words that broke me, "Child. Forgive me, Mom," he whispered. "I let her convince me. I let myself believe you were a weight. But you were the one carrying us all along." My daughter-in-law's mouth opened, but no words came. For once, her tongue was still. I reached across the table and touched my son's arm. My hand trembled, but my heart was steady. "I don't want revenge. I don't want you to grovel. All I ever wanted was respect. To be seen. To be loved." He nodded, his shoulders shaking with sobs. From that day, things changed. Not all at once. Wounds take time to heal. My daughter-in-law's eyes no longer burned with triumph, but with quiet caution. She avoided me, and I let her. I had no space left for hatred. My son tried to make amends. He gave me the front room, painted the walls, brought me flowers one morning from the market. Small things, but to me, they were beginning. And Clara, faithful Clara, visited often. Her presence reminded me that friendship can last a lifetime, even if it goes quiet for a season. She was the proof that I was not forgotten, not useless, not alone. "Now, my child, you sit beside me in this little room. You've listened with those big eyes of yours, your hand never leaving mine. I see the questions burning inside you. Why didn't you fight back sooner, Grandma? Why did you let them treat you that way? The answer is simple, but heavy. Because love makes us blind sometimes. Because a mother's heart is willing to suffer in silence if she thinks it keeps her children safe. But here is what I want you to remember: suffering in silence is not always the answer. You must speak when truth is on your side. You must stand tall, even if your voice shakes. I lean closer to you now, my voice low, my heart pouring out its last lesson. Promise me, child, that when life tries to call you worthless, when the world tries to break you, you will remember my story. You will remember that love, dignity, and hope are stronger than lies. Promise me you will never let anyone decide your worth. Your little fingers curl tight around mine. I promise, Grandma. And in that promise, I find peace. The house is quiet tonight, but it is not the silence of despair. It is the silence of dignity reclaimed. I close my eyes, and I whisper, as much to myself as to you. On my 75th birthday, they called me a burden. But life turned the tables. And love had the final word.